Hello, my name is Bob Edwards, and I have been a baseball official for the IHSA for 34 years. Today, we're going to cover working the plate. Working the plate, in many respects, is the cornerstone of the umpiring avocation. It's the image that comes to people's mind when they think of a baseball umpire. A great deal has been written over the years about working the plate, so I won't try to invent the wheel. Instead, we'll work on preparation, pregame, and positioning and the mechanics of working the plate. Preparing before the game when you have the plate is, where is the game? Have you been there before? Have you received confirmation from your AD or your assigner? Do they have dressing facilities? Make sure that you have all your equipment. What time does it start? Who am I working with? Call or text ahead of time. When you arrive at the park, find your partner. Park somewhere away from the fans if they don't have dressing facilities, out in the parking lot. And then you're not right next to all the people when you're trying to get dressed. Make your introduction to your partner if you don't know him. Find out what shirt or jacket that he wants to wear. Be sure that you're wearing the same. If you want to wear a blue shirt, make sure he's got a blue shirt. If you want to wear a black shirt, make sure he's got a black shirt. If you want to wear a jacket, make sure they're the same kind of jacket. Go over the responsibilities of each. Even if you've worked together before, it's good to touch base and make sure that you know what each other is going to do, especially if you've not worked with him before. After you get dressed and go to the field, make your entrance onto the field, make your introduction to each coach. I have a card that I carry with my name and IHSA ID number that I give to each coach. Sometimes it gets a little redundant because if you have a coach more than once, he doesn't really want it again, but I give it to him anyway. Receive the lineup from each coach. Go over it. Make sure it's correct and exactly the way they want it and that they want no changes on it. Check that they contain the proper number of players, substitutes, the correctly numbered positions, and their numbers listed, whether or not there's a DH. Make your statements, i.e., good sportsmanship. Tell them how long the game's supposed to be. If they have shortened rules, like if you have speed up rules after 5 innings or whatever, but go over that before the game starts. Then have the home coach to go over the ground rules. Each field is a little bit different because they'll have little quirks or jut outs or maybe a hole in the fence, or maybe there's not a fence down all the way down one side, and you have to worry about lining up with the end of a dugout or whatever. But anyway, get all that down before the game in this meeting. Wish each coach good luck and get ready to start. Remember, once you come on the field, you are in control of the game. As we begin to start, ask the catcher if their pitcher throws anything unusual. It shows that you're making an extra effort to be prepared. I like to ask the catcher if this is their best pitcher, if it's their ace, if he's thrown a lot this year, or if this is early in the year, first game, maybe gives you something to know what to expect. Then get behind the catcher. Watch a few warm-up throws from both teams. It sends a good message rather than standing to the side and watching. During these warm-ups, get a feeling for your timing. Timing is everything. Calling a pitch too fast or too slow can hurt you either way. This way, you'll know basically how hard this pitcher's throwing or how soft, if he likes to throw breaking pitches or if he's mainly a fastball pitcher. You need to get you a feel for this before the game starts. When you're getting in position, get the one that you're going to be comfortable with. When you set up, one of the biggest disagreements about initial setups is the box or the slot. Uh, the other setups that they are mentioned, but the scissors and the kneeling, nobody uses the kneeling position that I know of anymore. There are a few guys that can do the scissors. It's a little more difficult. They like it because they say it gives them a better view of the plate. Personally, I can't do the scissors. I'm not very good at it, so I don't try it. To say they're outdated and seldom used, well, the kneeling position is. And if you're like me, I'm way short, so I couldn't ever use the kneeling position. So they're not recommended, so we're not going to work on those. The box is a position that the umpire lines up directly behind the catcher. He's about 12 inches behind and positions his head so that his chin is no lower than the top of the catcher's head. Your feet are parallel, about shoulder width. Now, the good umpires that you want to brag on or what, you'll see most of them are using the slot. So the opinion is generally accepted as the box is rarely used and is fading away. The slot's what you want to focus on, and that's what we'll spend most of the time on. It's almost always in training schools and clinics and teachers that instruct, they're going to teach you to use the slot. If you decide to adopt the box, good luck. You're going to be on your own. The main deficiencies of the box is the practical objection is that since few umpires use that stance, it's difficult to find good trainers. The philosophical objection is that the umpire farther removes himself from the low pitch. This latter point frames the central problem with the box. While you have a good view of the edges of the plate, inside and outside, you've got a terrible view of the low pitch. And given to the extent of which modern pitching lives low, this is a considerable problem. Now, the modern strike zone is a little low. So they live low because that's what most people are going to call. So that's what they're used to seeing. So now that's one of the reasons I don't get a good view, so I don't use the box. I use the slot. This is a picture of the slot. The slot sits there as you get a good views. You can see is the line drawn. You get to see the low pitch, the high pitch, inside, outside. This is set up, of course, for a right-hand batter. There's no perfect position. Every position has a certain deficiency, but we'll talk about the deficiency of the slot in a minute. But first, let's learn it. As with many aspects of working the plate, and as we've said before, you're not going to learn the proper setup in the slot position from a book. You need hands-on instruction. So we'll use this picture, and you need to be observed by a knowledgeable teacher who can correct your posture and positioning. You need to attend training sessions and clinics. That's why one of the things the IHSA has many clinics that you have access to. This training education that's online, there are clinics that are offered by clinicians throughout the year, and if you go to these clinics, you'll see that most of them anyway are going to teach the slot. The slot is that open space between the batter and the catcher. You want your head in that slot so you can see the pitch all the way from the pitcher's release point to the catcher's glove. And you want to be able to see all of the plate. The umpire places himself in that opening. The head is positioned on the inside portion of the plate, and the umpire's head is above the catcher's. The view of the plate is from the inside top. So uh, closely at the position of the feet. As you can see, it's a heel-toe position where the left foot, this is the slot for a right-handed batter, and the left foot is in front, the right foot is back. So the heel of the right foot is at the toe of the left foot, and the toe of your left foot is at the heel of the catcher. This gives you the position that gives you the best view of the plate and of the pitch. Now, if you look at that image, this is for a right-handed batter. The left-handed batter, of course, is just the mirror image. This view of the positioning is for general guidance only. The umpire's height and other factors will affect how wide your feet are placed. The important part of the setup is positioning yourself so that your head is in the slot and that you have a full view of the plate. This positioning gives you a nice stable base and allows you to drop into your stance quite easily by simply just sitting down into it. It also allows you to lower or raise your head height by simply spreading or narrowing your stance. The image on the right shows you the setup in a top-down view. It finishes off the setup this way. Your nose ends up being lined up with the inside corner of the plate or slightly to its left, depending in part on how the catcher sets up, but never over the plate. Your body, because of the heel-toe alignment, is facing the second baseman, and the pro schools teaches that the head should be square to the pitcher. You're now in a position to accept the pitch. As the pitcher winds up, you snap down so that the bottom of your chin is no lower than the top of the catcher's helmet. Track the ball and see the pitch. Agreeing on one thing that's important is that the plate umpire has to see the pitch. The number one requirement for seeing the pitch is keeping your head still and tracking the ball with your eyes. I put all that in boldface because it's so important. In fact, it's so important, I'm going to say it again. The number one requirement for seeing the pitch is keeping your head still and tracking the ball with your eyes. This does not come naturally. You must train yourself to keep your head still and track the ball with your eyes, not your head. Our natural tendency is to turn our head as the ball approaches the catcher's glove. In fact, one of the biggest tip-offs that the umpire is not well trained in is tendency to move his head and sometimes even his body. Now, I agree that sometimes you have to move a little bit because in high school, not all the catchers, they're not pro catchers. So they're not quite as good as a pro catcher. So sometimes they don't catch the ball as well. So you're going to flinch a little. You're going to may have to move out of the way if the catcher misses it. So, but anyway, that's why you wear that equipment. Keep your nose in there as long as you can. On the outside pitches, this movement is particularly noticeable. Note that the weak spot, the main deficiency of the slot position, is the difficulty calling the low and away pitch. In the slot position, your eye is at or near the top inside corner of the strike zone. This makes the low and away the farthest point from the eye. I would even go a bit further and say that both of the outside corner pitches, high and low, are the most challenging pitches to call. Pitches up and away are the farthest from your primary reference points, plate, batter, catcher, more than any other pitch. Up and away requires that you know it every bit as much as you see it, and practice. Pitches inside and the high stuff are relatively easy. Inside pitches are right in your face, so they're pretty easy to call, so long as your timing is good. That is, you're not rushing it. Your position's such that a pitch off the plate inside is pretty easy to see as a ball. Your main concern on the inside pitch is high and low. But again, if your eye is at the top of the zone, the high strike inside is pretty much right in your face. The low one is just inches from the batter's knees, so your reference point is adjacent to the pitch. The common mistake on the high pitch is calling a bad strike on a pitch just above the zone. Of course, when adjusting for age and level, it's the top of the zone that varies the most. So it's sometimes difficult to dial in on the top of the zone. If you move frequently from one age group to another, as a lot of us, you have to adjust as to the size of your players. The breaking pitch is the most challenging of all, particularly if your timing is too quick. On breaking pitches, you have to be very attentive. A high breaking ball could stick the catcher's glove right at his chest, but still have come over the top of the zone. Same with cutters and sliders that move in and out. A ball can break sideways into or out of the zone at the last moment. You must be diligent on these. Most important is seeing the pitch all the way to the catcher's glove, resisting the temptation to call the pitch too quickly. Of course, you tend to see the pitches like these at higher levels, generally 14 and older, which is at that level, if you're a new umpire, you shouldn't be working yet. Instead, you can cut your teeth on the younger kids who's pitched lollipop floaters that aren't really breaking balls and yet cross the plate in as much the same way. Rather than breaking, they're arcing across the plate, and these require the same attention as true breaking balls. These, again, you learn to see and also demand good timing. The number one mistake you see with an inexperienced umpire is they're not seeing the ball all the way to the catcher's glove. They must see it most of the way, make their decision, ball or strike, and then the ball breaks or drops, and you end up with a ball called a strike or a strike called a ball. This happens unconsciously, of course, but still, it's a perfect segue into the issue of timing, which is the cause of this problem, poor timing. A breaking pitch over the middle of the plate, but even low, even in the dirt, looks absolutely perfect when it's 15 feet from the plate. And that's where many inexperienced umpires are making their ball strike decision. Probably only a dozen thousandth of a second before the pitch reaches the catcher's glove. But if you're calling a pitch the instant it hits the catcher's glove, you're almost certainly making your decision while the ball is still in flight, and that's why these decisions are so often wrong. Timing, timing, timing. Just can't stress it enough. There's one area where most agree wholeheartedly. It's the matter of timing. Good timing is rarely seen in amateur umpires because it takes so much practice, and adopting it as close as you can, you're going to get in with a silver bullet in this article. There is probably no one thing that you can do which will immediately improve your performance as quickly as adopting good timing. The first step in developing good timing is to see the pitch all the way to the catcher's glove. We've said this. I go back to this again. It's so important. You think you see it all the way, but you probably don't. You must train yourself not just see the ball all the way to the catcher's mitt, but to notice the position of the mitt. If you permit yourself to notice the position of the mitt after the catch, then you've seen the ball all the way. The most uniform prevalent bad habit we see in new umpires is the impulse to call balls and strikes quickly, the instant the ball hits the catcher's glove, and sometimes even before it hits the glove. Believe it or not, you hear strike. It's painful to watch because as an experienced observer, you know that's when the ball call is made simultaneously with the catch. The decision was made while the pitch was still in flight. We all did this when we first started, but then we learned about proper timing. The second and equally important step is to pause once the ball hits the mitt. This is a hard habit to develop because it doesn't feel natural, but it's critically important. You have to practice it. Here's the drill. Once the ball pops the mitt, pause for a full second. During this pause, allow yourself to quickly replay the pitch. Make your strike ball decision. Vocalize your call silently to yourself, and only then do you verbalize ball or strike. Let me reiterate. Once you've seen the ball hit the glove, replay the pitch in your mind. Make your decision. Vocalize your decision silently to yourself. Finally, verbalize your call. Either come up with your strike call or stay down and verbalize ball. But be sure to verbalize balls and strikes. It's going to feel awkward at first. It will seem like you're silent for a long time, for too long. But it's not a long time. It only feels that way. The advantage of methodical timing are several. First, and perhaps the most importantly, is concentrating on your timing prevents you from calling your pitches too quickly. That's your biggest enemy, the impulse to call your pitches rapidly. Good timing minimizes the tendency to make mistakes on close pitches, which helps ensure consistency. Consistency lives and dies on the corners. A few things get you in more hot water with coaches and pitchers than inconsistency with your strike zone. Coaches are not stupid. They can see when you're being inconsistent, and they'll call you out on it. And this will unnerve you and make things get even worse. Difficult corner pitches sometimes make you stop and think. If you call the pitches quickly, but then come into a tough pitch and hesitate a moment while you think, this infrequent pause is nothing short of you shouting at the top of your lungs, "I'm not really sure about this one." Believe me, everyone over 9 years old will understand this. If you, on the other hand, give yourself time on every pitch, then only you and maybe your catcher will know the really tough ones. Accuracy, consistency, fewer arguments, greater confidence. That's what not to like about good timing. But like everything else in umpiring mechanics, it takes practice. You have to train yourself with some good help to find your timing and then ingrain it so that it becomes perfectly natural and remains consistent. As we said, consistency is the key to good umpiring behind the plate. The thing that you need to do is go to clinics, learn from others, go to other games, and watch the good veteran umpires as how they time, how they make their calls. This is so important for you to learn how to do this. And the last thing is get out there and do it. Don't jump in on a high level if you're inexperienced, but as you get along, you gradually improve yourself, you improve your timing, and you just improve yourself as an umpire. Most coaches will appreciate an umpire that is consistent and has good timing. That's going to do it for today. As I said before, be sure that as I said, experience is the best teacher. So go out, have a good time. Don't be afraid of that plate. It's a great place to watch a ball game. You're in on every pitch. You got a great view of the field, and it's a lot of fun once you get started on it. Thanks.